Today's guest is Glenda Chauncy, and also known as G-Love, as a stage name. Glenda, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Tiberius. It's so great to be here today.
First off, I know you have two names. What is a stage name, and why do you have one?
Well, what happens when you get into radio, especially radio, you like to have a made-up name, kind of, to identify who you are, because if I go on the radio and people know me as Glenda, which that's my real name, okay, but it's not a stage name that somebody will identify with me on the radio, and I like my privacy too, because by giving a stage name, you kind of have your privacy just a little. Well, we're going to wake you up, young man. Now, G-Love, how that came about, just so you know, is everybody liked the fact that I care enough about people and that I kind of put my heart out there on the sleeve when I talk about things. So somebody came up with this great idea and said, G stands for Glenda, right?
Yeah.
And love, because I like to share love. So that's how G-Love came about. What about you, Tiberius? Do you have a special stage name?
No, not.
Not yet.
No.
We're going to have to come up with one soon.
Well, actually, can I have one too?
Of course, I would love for you to have one.
I would like it to be Tiberius the Great.
Tiberius the Great. I really like this.
Tiberius the Great.
The Great.
Yeah.
I like that. That's
it's
a
on
good.
my bowling ball too.
It's on your bowling ball, Tiberius the Great. Why? Because you're good at bowling. Yeah, you are. How's bowling going?
Well, pretty good. In my high score is a 150.
Wow, that's really good. You are rocking and rolling, Tiberius the Great. I love it.
Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. I think you are so interesting because you have your own radio show just like me. Can you tell me about your show?
The show is very interesting. What I love is rock and roll. My favorite thing in life, like, you know, video games is maybe your favorite thing.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is music, more specifically rock and roll. So when I started my show, I like to be funny. I think I'm funny. I don't know, sometimes maybe I'm not. But I like to be funny, and I love music. So I came up with Real Talk with G-Love, and my station is rockallout.com. And I get to present and showcase local talent that play rock and roll live. And I also get to do national bands that are around the United States. And in fact, we're going to be going into out of the United States into places like Germany and Brazil, because they have rock and roll too. We might not know the words.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Don't you think? I can't wait. It's going to be fun.
Okay. Well, that is great. Now, what is your favorite part about having your own radio?
You know what my favorite part is? It's mine. It's mine. I don't have to, you know, be a part of someone else's show. Like you, right? It's your show. How exciting is that?
Yeah, and one time I was in your show too.
You were in my show, and it was amazing.
Yes.
I had a great time with you.
Yes.
You're funny.
Yes, I am.
You are.
So, okay. What do you do when you're not running your radio show?
Well, I do something called credit repair, and it's when people sometimes go through bad times financially where they may have had some debt, school loan debt. There's a lot of reasons that people get bad credit, and I like to go out and fix it so they can get back on their feet and they can buy new things and they can, you know, spend their money the way they're supposed to. And that way, when they go get a car or a house, that they're able to get approved for that. So I do credit repair, and I help with their scores. That's what I do when I'm not doing radio. If I had my choice, I would do radio all the time. I would do it from the morning that I wake up to the time I go to sleep. Yeah, that's how much I love it.
Well, actually, what is a credit?
Credit, it's, you know, when you go to the bank, right? You've been to the bank.
Yeah.
You have your own account, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have 25.
How much?
$25.
Ooh, That's good money there, Tiberius. Wow, I think you got more than I do. Anyway, you go to the bank and they say, okay, you want to buy a car,
Yeah.
right? In the car, you only have $205.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do math. I hear you like doing math. So you have
That's
205.
my subject.
Oh, it's a really good subject. 200 today?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's say you have $205 in your bank account, right? And the car costs $5,000. Right. And you say, well, how am I going to be able to afford it? If I don't have $5,000, then what am I going to do?
Subtract it, so that's how many more money you need to get.
Exactly. Smart boy. So what happens, you go to the bank and you apply for what they call a loan, because the bank can loan you the money because they have lots of it, right? But here's obviously. But here's what they do. They charge you a lot of interest. Yeah, some interests go from as low as 7%, some go as high as 16% on a car loan. And you know why there's a difference in that percentage? Because if somebody has bad credit, they have to pay more. Well, that's what I like to do. I like to fix their credit where they're not paying more. Exactly.
So if like I have a bad credit, they would kind of make it like $10,000?
No, what they would do is you still have the same amount of the loan,
Yeah.
but they'll take your payment, let's say from $175, it might jump up to $250 a month because of the interest being higher. So it's all rated on what they call credit worthiness. That's the word they use. So I try to help people when they're trying to get a house or they're trying to buy a car and they want to get their scores up and their credit worthiness where they don't have to pay that high interest rate. Because that's what the banks would like you to do, right? They want you to pay that high interest rate. They get more money that way.
My dad said I'm not allowed to ask your age or weight.
Well, it's funny that your dad says this to you because he's right. You can't ask girls or women their age or their weight. I stopped aging at the age of 50, just so you know. When I had my 50th birthday, I don't even know how old I am right now. If you asked me how old I was, I would tell you 50.
Really?
Yeah, I'm 50. That's the truth, but I stopped having, I still have my birthdays, but I call it the do-over 50. So every year I do over my 50th. Does that make sense? Yeah, I don't want to age. So I just every time now you see my birthday invite, it will say a do-over 50th birthday. That's what I call it. I don't age. So if you ask me really how old I am, I would have to think about the year I was born and subtract it from 2018 and tell you how old I am. Now my weight, no, you're not getting that out of me either. Because I put on a little bit of weight. The older you get, women tend to gain a little weight. So it's probably a good idea not to ask how old a woman is or her weight. Unless she's very skinny. Skinny girls like to talk about their weight. I'm not a skinny girl.
And actually my friend AJ is a skinny boy.
Skinny boy, yeah, boys can be skinny too.
Yep.
Yeah, I know, I'm looking at one. We gotta put some weight on. We gotta get you some muscles.
No, like here's, seriously, he's kind of like right here.
Are you talking about the stomach area?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And, okay, my teacher, Mrs. Kelly, says that I will use math every day. Do you still use math?
Well, you know, I do in my credit business because I have to calculate their what they call a debt to ratio credit. When you do a debt to credit ratio, it's called a DTC ratio. It's the amount of limit that they have. Remember we talked about that $5,000, and then
You subtract it?
right, their balance. Well, no, you have to divide it because to get the ratio, you have to divide what they owe. So let's make math easy because I'm not good at math. You are, not me. Let's say
I
it's.
know the square root of a million.
I know. We need to
It's
put some.
1,000.
Oh gosh. Okay. I'm talking easy math right now. 1,000.
Some people think it's 2,000.
Oh well, that's. I wouldn't even.
3 zeros.
I would have thought maybe 10. But anyway, here's the deal. Let's say you have a credit card that has a limit of $1,000, right? And somebody owes $500 on the 1,000, okay? Well, when you no. They still have $500 available they could spend on $1,000. But what happens is they divide what they owe into the limit. That's called the debt to credit ratio. So I use math every day because that person's using 50% of the $1,000. Well, that makes your scores come down because you're using too much of the credit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what I would advise someone that has a $1,000 limit on a credit card and they're at 500, I would have them pay at least $250 towards that balance, because guess what happens? It goes down to 25%, which will make their credit scores go up. So I use math every day because in order to get people's scores up, it's actually a game playing, math everyday game. Yes, it is. And so I do math every day, but not like you do.
It's kind of like Monopoly. Each time you kind of like get home.
True. Yes.
I think you get like dollars or something.
Well, yeah, in Monopoly, that's very similar to how people acquire houses and cars and properties and cash. Yeah. I wish it was real money, especially if you're winning.
Yes. And actually, there's a new game now.
What?
It's actually called Monopoly.
Monopoly?
Cheaters Edition.
Oh, Cheaters Edition.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't want to learn that because guess what? Then if you try to cheat everything in life, it doesn't always work that way. Especially in real money.
They actually do like,
Oh.
they kind of like hide it.
They hide it. Yeah, well, a lot of banks do that too. It's called
Actually-
offshoring.
Actually,
Yes, it's called offshoring.
and then the girl was like, in the commercial was like,
Yeah. Oh, I have to see this. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, banks take money, so we all know that. Awesome.
well, would you be able to help me with math corners later on?
With what?
Math corners?
Sure, I'll try, but you can't be real hard because I'm not really good at math. I didn't make good grades in math.
It's actually going to be last presentation.
Oh boy, I better get a long list of paper.
Yes.
We'll do it though. Yeah, I'll do it with you, of course.